Welcome to another episode of the Empowerment School, where we're making empowerment a daily habit. Get schooled in empowerment tools. This is the show where I teach you the art and science of empowerment step by step. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Empowerment School. My name is Monish Sabharwal, and this is the podcast dedicated to empowered living. My goal is to help you build confidence and self-esteem and be more assertive by teaching you one empowering concept that you can use immediately. Today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is focus, and specifically something called frames. You know, a lot of people know what they don't want, right? You have a problem that comes up, but the issue is that they keep on focusing on that issue. They keep on focusing on that problem. They're not really focusing on what they do want. And I'm going to talk about today is when you change that conversation, when you do focus on what you do want, everything changes, okay? And really, that's what you called frames. So we're going to get right into this and talk about how to shift your focus, and I'll be sharing some really cool analogies and metaphors that you can kind of use that will paint a really good picture of how this really works. So this is the thing, right? A frame, okay, and a frame of reference is the general focus, direction, or context around a situation. Okay, when we talk about frames, we're really talking about constraints and borders around a specific idea. And I'll give you a really good story to jump right into it so it doesn't get too technical. Okay? Now, I'll give you a story, and actually this is from a book called Sleight of Mouth by Robert Dilts. He has a book entirely about frames and how you reframe situations and what exactly is a frame, and he gives so many ways to do it, but this story really illustrates very well what exactly is a frame. So let me share this story really quickly. So a very old Chinese Taoist story described a farmer in a poor country village. His neighbors considered him very well-to-do. He owned a horse which he used for plowing and transportation. But one day, his horse ran away. All his neighbors exclaimed how terrible this was. But the farmer simply said, maybe. A few days later, the horse returned and brought 2 wild horses with it. The neighbors all rejoiced at his good fortune, but the farmer just said, maybe. The next day, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses. The horse threw him, and the son broke his leg. Oh no, the neighbors all offered their sympathy for his misfortune, but the farmer again said, maybe. The next week, conscription officers came to the village to take away young men to the army. They rejected the farmer's son because of his broken leg. When the neighbors told him how lucky he was, the farmer replied, maybe. Now, isn't that a good story, huh? What's going on there, right? This is the thing, right? There's so many different frames that are sort of involved in the story. Look, the content of what happened, right? The farmer's lost his horse, then he got the horses, and the son broke his leg, and the army officer came. Look, that is what happened, okay? That's the reality of the situation. Those events did happen. But internally, something different happened for the farmer, okay? He didn't see those experiences, the content of those experiences, negative at all, okay? So the thing is that the frame kept on changing. That's why, right? The context kept on changing, right? In one context, the broken leg was a bad thing. In another context, it was actually a very good thing. Do you see how those frames changed? Or in one context, the farmer lost his horse. In another context, wow, the horse brought back all these other horses. Okay? So the thing is that the farmer didn't get caught up in the emotions and everything. So frames, and we'll go over this in detail and explain what's going on. But frames, they label experiences. Okay, if the farmer labeled that the horse ran away as a really bad thing, like, oh no, this is going to be a huge, issue for me and all this stuff, he actually waited and the frame actually changed for him. Okay, so a frame actually can label an experience. It can sort of, it can give a sort of a label, a punctuation to the experience that's happening as good or bad, or some other sort of frames that you can take a look at. And we'll go over that. Another thing, it directs attention, right? So if you have a frame, the neighbors were all like, oh, that's bad news, and what are you going to do? And oh my gosh, they were operating on the frame of lack or scarcity. They were operating on the frame of, employment, if lack of employment, that if he didn't have the horses, he wouldn't be able to survive. Okay, so they were looking at it from a survival frame, right? Where the farmer was looking at it maybe from a higher frame, in the lifespan of what he was doing. It's maybe not that big of a deal. So that if frames direct attention. Frames also focus on focus conversations. Okay, if you have a frame that, hey, this is a problem, okay, and another person doesn't see that as a problem, you have an entirely different focus. Okay, there's going to be different information and things that are going to be in that conversation that's going to be different if you were in a different frame. You know, sometimes you're in a meeting and the person's like, oh, this is the issue. And you're like, no, this is what the issue is. And it frames the conversation. They're like, oh, yeah, that's what the issue is. So just reframing something makes a huge difference. The conversation changes. Last thing frames do is they determine scope. Okay, they determine the information and interactions that are possible. You know, I mentioned boundaries and constraints. If you're under a frame that, hey, this is a really bad thing to happen for me, you know, if this happened, it would be the end of the world. You know, that's going to bring up a whole different bunch of interactions and information for you. You're going to be panicking, right? Some people who are looking for a job, they think it's, oh my God, I'm never going to find another job. And they start getting desperate and they start getting needy and they start getting all like worried and anxiety and all this stuff. You know, they have this frame that, hey, it's going to be the end of the world if they don't get that job, right? So they want to, you know, you want to actually shift into more positive frames, you know, possibility frames or resource frames. So, you know, what's available to you? What can you focus on? And that determines the scope as well. So this is the big thing about frames, okay? And we saw this in that story about the farmer, is that the meaning changes based on your frame. Okay, the meaning changes based on your frame. If you have a frame that this is a problem, okay, the meaning is going to change altogether, right? The horse ran away. If the farmer bought into the idea that this was a problem, he bought into the problem frame, he'd be like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. This has been a very bad thing. You know, the reality is, the reality situation, the horse left. Okay, the horse went away. Okay, but the problem, quote unquote, problem is created by the meaning that you create from it. Oh, the horse ran away. That means what? Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to survive, and what's going to happen, and all this other stuff, right? So someone once said that, you know, the thing is, we don't react to our environment. Okay, we don't react to things that are happening, like the horse running away. We react to our internal representation. Okay, so that means we react to whatever is going inside. If you take that horse running away and put it under a frame that this is a problem, you know, you're going to have a whole different set of emotions and beliefs and behaviors. And that's what's the next thing right here, right? Is that your meaning will change. And because of the meaning will change, you're going to have different emotions, beliefs, behaviors, and actions. Now, the neighbors in that story, they were emotional, weren't they? Right? They believed that bad things were going to happen, you know? And if they, you know, if the farmer bought into that, he might be doing different behaviors and actions. If he actually thought that, oh my gosh, you know, this is a bad thing or a good thing, and I'm going to be rich, or hey, I'm going to be poor, he's going to have a whole different set of behaviors and actions. Okay, this doesn't mean you're not supposed to like not really do anything and be motionless and all this other stuff. The farmer was really looking at empowering frames. Maybe, you know, you could see the story anyway. Maybe he's saying, okay, well, the horse ran away, but you know, that's fine. I have my health and I have all these other things, you know. So the content didn't, you know, the horse left. That was the content of the frame. It left, but he actually reframed it. Okay, well, things will be fine. They'll be okay. And when people asked him what was going on, he said, oh, well, the horse ran away. They say, oh my God, it's a bad thing. He said, no, well, it is what it is, you know. So this is the thing, right? So frames, right? If you change your frame, you're going to change the meaning. Okay, and if you change the meaning, right, you're going to make a different set of emotions, beliefs, and behaviors possible. So let's go into the very common scenario of frames. And I talk to a lot of people, I coach a lot of people, and you know, they're really stuck in the problem frame, what we call the problem frame. And we want to get them out of the problem frame into something called an outcome frame. And there's so many different frames out there, and you know, we can get into advanced topics and stuff, but this is the key one that I want you to understand, because this happens to a lot of people. You know, a friend of mine gave me a really crude example of the problem frame. He said, Monish, you know, imagine you're in a war and you're fighting this war and there's the heat of the battle. All of a sudden, your leg gets blown off. Oh my God, right? And I was like, dang, man, where are you taking the story, right? So he's like, yeah, your leg blows off. What are you going to do? Right? And I'm like, I don't know, you know, my leg just got blown off. He's like, are you going to sit there saying, you know, why did my leg get blown off? Why did I join this war? And you know, why am I in this problem, and what's wrong, and how do I, you know, what's going to happen, you know, that my leg is gone, and oh my God. Or are you going to do this? Are you going to actually use your other working leg? Are you going to use your other working leg and get out of this war, right? Or you might enlist the help of other people to help you. Okay, So there's a shift in focus. Okay, a lot of people do this. They get stuck and fixated on the problem. Why is this happening to me? What's wrong with me? What's going on with this problem? Why do I keep on doing this? Why is not so important? Okay, it's more important to figure out, what do you want? Okay, the guy in the war, if he wants to get out of that war, he's gonna have to walk out of there. Okay, and he's gonna need some help to do that. Okay, he's either gonna use his own leg or use someone else's. So that's a good outcome. That's shifting the problem frame to the outcome frame. What do you want? Another good example that a coach of mine once gave me, he was talking about, if you're driving your car, okay, and you look on your gas gauge and it's on empty, right? What's going to happen? Do you sit there going, oh my God, why is it on empty? How could this be happening to me? What caused this to go on empty? What's wrong with my car? Are you going to do that? Because a lot of people come to me with problems and say, why is this happening? And what's going on? And all this stuff. And they're trying to figure it out over and over again. They're really focusing on that problem. Okay. And they're in the wrong frame. They need to shift to the outcome frame. So here's another one, right? What you would do in that situation is you just pull over to the gas station. What do you want? If the gauge is showing you empty, what do you want? Well, I want more gas in the car. Well, then pull over to a gas station. I know it's simple, right? It sounds very funny when you're talking to people, but this happens so much, is that when we get confused and lost and stressed and all these negative emotions come up, either about us or other people, how many times have you said, oh, well, why does he do that? I can't believe he does that. Oh my God, it's so annoying. I do this too still. It's such a simple concept, but I do this a lot too as well, is that, somebody will bother me a certain way. I say, why is he doing that? How is it, what makes him do that? And why is it so, I go into the history of things. Who cares, man? What you really want to focus on, what do you want? Okay, I want to have a better relationship with this person, or hey, I want that person to stop doing that thing. Okay, well, then go tell them. Go try those strategies. Focus on the outcome frame. And I guess I'm coaching myself in this conversation too, because I really need to focus on that. So the problem frame, and this is from, again, Robert Dilts' Sleight of Mouth. If you want to check out that book, it's super cool. A lot of people talk about this, but these are some of the core questions that Robert Dilts has. Is the problem frame is, you're asking the question, what is wrong? Okay, the people keep on asking, what's wrong? Why is it a problem? Why is it happening? What caused it? Whose fault is it, right? So the guy whose leg gets blown off, whose fault is this? What caused this? Why did I show up to this war? Problem frame is not the right frame you want to look at. Okay, listen to me. You do not want to do that. Instead, you want to have the outcome frame. Empowered people look at the outcome frame. They ask themselves, well, what do I want? Okay, and how can I get it? And what resources are available to me? Okay, if you sit there all day trying to analyze what's wrong with me and why did this happen, and maybe it's my mom and my dad, you're not going to you typically don't get too far. Okay, and that's not to put down anybody who does do that, and I think some of that is very helpful. In fact, I reflect a lot about what's going on in my life and who am I and all these things, and it's helpful sometimes. But I think that if you have certain goals, it's very important to get a sense of, okay, well, hey, if this problem's happening, what is my goal? What's my intention? What do I want to do? Okay, an empowered person focuses on those things. Okay, don't get caught up in the past. Look at what you want. So in review, in this lesson, right, we've talked about is the frame is, focuses, directs, is the focus, direction, and cognitive context around a situation. And any frame implies constraints and borders. A certain frame will enable certain information. It focuses you. You're not going to be talking about everything. If a problem today, which I think is a big deal, given the context of 10 years, right? I'm zooming out from the frame, if I zoom out to 10 years, it's really not that big of a problem. Okay, but if I focus only on that situation in the time frame, so a certain time frame, certain short time frame, that's going to imply constraints and borders. A good example as well is like if you have a meeting and you have a short time frame. Well, in a short time frame, you guys are going to get things done. You're going to talk about what do we do. If you have a short meeting, you're like, okay, new people are in there. You don't really spend the time to get to know them or anything like that. But in a longer time frame, you have more time to sort of get to know each other. You have more time to get deeper into issues. You have more time to build relationships and form new bonds. Okay, so a time frame constrains a lot of things. That's a very common one, right? So frame is the focus, direction, and cognitive context around a situation. Another thing is if you change the frame, you can change the meaning. Okay, if I see something as a problem, right, that's going to have a whole set of different meaning and emotions and behaviors and beliefs and actions that are possible. But if I say, okay, well, hey, this problem came up, and well, what do I want from it? You can see any problem in your life is actually a life lesson. Any problem, you look back at your past, you're like, yeah, that was a problem at the time, but now I see it as something much bigger. It actually helped me grow as an individual. Okay, in fact, you can do that anytime. You can say, okay, well, yeah, I'm dealing with this problem, or this person being a problem. Why is it a problem to me? Oh, maybe I need to learn how to be more assertive, or maybe I need to learn how to do things differently, or actually he has a really good point. Maybe I need to actually become more organized. So in that case, you can shift the frames for yourself, okay, and change the meaning and emotions. And a lot of times we talk to friends and they do that for us. They give us support, and really what they're doing is they're shifting the frame for you, right? They say, Monish, you're talking about the wrong thing. Or, hey, don't worry about this too much. I used to be there. Okay, and then you start realizing the problem is really not that problem. It's actually normal. That happens to me a lot too as well. I realize that something I worry about is actually a very common problem to other people. And a lot of people don't know that the other people are also dealing with the same problem, so they think it's their issue, special issue. I just reframed that too, by the way. Okay, so another thing is frames label experiences, just like the problem frame or outcome frame. It's sort of a type of label or punctuation you can say for the experience. I don't want to say like a full label, but it's just something that like marks the experience. It's okay, well, hey, it kind of gives the whole context. Whatever I'm talking about, oh, you're speaking from the problem. You're not looking at it from the outcome. Frames also direct attention. They focus conversation, and they also determine scope, right? They determine what information is available, what interactions are possible, okay? And they change the conversation. If you're in one conversation and not another, it's different. So like, I'll give you another example, right? So, a woman is, angry, right? Her husband shows up late, and she says, why are you always late? Do you not love me anymore? And so she's looking at it regarding the relationship frame, that his lateness means that he doesn't love her. The strength of it, the later he is, the more she hates him or something, or the more he doesn't love her, right? And then he says, honey, no, actually, I got in an accident today. So that's why I was late. All of a sudden, the frame is about safety and well-being, So it means that his tardiness is actually something else. The meaning from it is that, okay, he actually got in a car accident. That's why he was late. He had to go fix that situation and handle, So this is the thing. That's a very common scenario that happens in relationships, that we want to take a look at frames and meanings that we actually create and change those frames, because there's a whole set of different emotions. Okay? Wow, so thank you so much. Oh, last one, actually. I totally forgot this. Shifting from the problem frame to the outcome frame is key. We talked about that, right? Okay, so thank you so much for listening today. Your homework assignment, okay? Pick an area of your life you're struggling with, and what I want you to do is look at that area from the outcome frame, okay? An area of your life that you're struggling with, okay? And ask yourself, what do you want? How can you get it? And what resources are available to you? Any area of your life, okay? Start doing that. Instead of complaining and asking why and all this other stuff, focus on what you do want, all right? This has been another episode of the Empowerment School. I hope you guys like this a lot. If you want to see more empowering videos, go to www.theempowermentschool.com. That's www.theempowermentschool.com. I really appreciate you guys spending the time. Leave any comments. I want you to do the homework. Leave the comments. Let us know. Interact. I want to know what's going on with you and help you out. Again, this has been Monish, your coach, your teacher, and your friend. And I'm hoping you and wishing you to stay empowered. Okay? Thanks, guys. See you next episode.